So look right here at 89 quarter. You see on the far right, the left side right here, that's showing you market orders that were sell orders. So these people sold using market orders up here. That's what this stuff's telling you. These people right here, market orders that sold. The other side, the right side, is market orders that bought. Well, you don't know if those are somebody that was getting short or somebody who was taking profits on a long. You don't know that. You just don't know. You just don't know what you did. But this right here, this is the wholesale area to like get profits on, just because of like at least like initial profits. 'Cause that's the whole point of moving size. 'Cause, we've had this huge gap down, and we've really bottomed out. So we're going to have at least steady volatility, if not widening. And I really expect this to kind of start with the up move. And what I do is literally like, see how I can look right through here, and I can kind of get a diagonal line that looks like it fits pretty well through the market's gaps. Okay, well that's the kind of thing I do to literally get like the slope of like how the market's about to go. So now I would take this line, put it like off the low, and I'll extend that out, and then also like copy and do that. Like, where's this at? Like right in this area, and now that would literally give me my channel to the upside, to watch, channel to watch. So let me see if I can draw this in better. What if I do this and that? So now that's the channel I'll be watching. But you can see how there's a lot more volume being put in up here for a couple, like, really, because there's a lot of like profit taking. I mean, you don't know for sure. Okay, you never know for sure what they're doing, but there's business being done. So that just, it's smart. You take the sure thing profits right there. That was the move into wholesale territory to take profits off from the bottom here. You'd still hold more for another push up. So that's why you work position size of threes. So, right here is the first exit. The next one would be up here, like the top of this channel, and then the next exit would be all the way up here, the back, at the gap fill. So that's part of working stuff in size. So it reduces your risk and it allows you to scale out and whatever. But like getting this wholesale entry from the bottom, the early entry, and then adding on the confirmation. Can you see how? Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can do something with the tools here. Um, okay. So imagine having like an early buy, like right. That's not very bright. Let me get it to where we can see this. All right, that actually shows up pretty good. So imagine getting in, an early buy there or before confirmation. We buy some there, and say add one another contract when it pulls back to there. Then as it blows this top area, we'll get into selling some right here in a second. When this blows, like right here, look to add on, and then literally when this pull back to this area, is another opportunity to add on. Okay, and then at that point, you literally let the market go. And then when we can, then let me fix my tool thing here, and then we can start talking about exits. And see, this is the whole point. This is why I always say it's so easy to trade if you can use size. Using big size makes it easy. So you can be able to, trade these swings and things like this. It reduces your risk and all that. But say, because if you look at this last little place where the market broke down here, where this little, like, not this high, because this was a back and fill to here, but like this little area that where you can see this red thing before we come down, that's like the first swing to be breached, which we did like right here. So like pre-confirmation scale out can be in this area, and I'm not cherry picking this either. But anyways, then after adding on, now we're up here in this wholesale area. So have like a couple exits there, then say like another one here, and then another others to have for like one up there. So you can see how, we're before confirmation, we can get in using a certain technique, because we don't really have the confirmation yet as far as, down here. And then and then, start get a sure thing scale out, because you can always add back on, because it's not broken yet. You don't have the information yet. Not, not confirmed like we did after this push here. So, but then, once you start seeing that it starts, once you get that confirmation, you might be buying higher, as opposed to like, buying down here, you're buying higher. But it's about probabilities and about winning, not just, price and whatever, because you're either going to be right or you're going to be wrong. So if you add one here, you can, win even more. But, I'm assuming you're still there. I don't know.
society. The company seems to be ignoring that. Jim Steyer is CEO of Common Sense and wrote the book Talking Back to Facebook, and he joins us tonight. Jim, thanks for coming on. So have I mischaracterized what this app is intended to do and who it's aimed at?
Nope, I think you nailed it, Tucker. I mean, really, this is about social media for the kindergarten set. It's basically getting hooked kids, you know, at younger and younger ages, 6, 7, 8, on social media platforms like Facebook. And it's crazy. We don't need it. And that's why all the experts came out and suggested that.
But we know that heavy social media use among young people leads to social maladjustment, depression, maybe even more grave things. I mean, the implication is certainly that it can really hurt people, gravely hurt them.
That's right.
So why would Facebook want to do this?
Because it's in their own economic best interest. I mean, truthfully, you're trying to hook people at younger and younger ages to the brand and to the concept. And so it's an economic incentive, but obviously it's missing out on all the negative unintended consequences that you just referred to. I mean, this is just a no-brainer for a parent. Why would you want your 6-year-old using Facebook or Instagram? So this is just should be a non-starter for parents, I think.
I mean, I'm sure R.J. Reynolds would like to come out with a new cigarette that's kindergarten friendly, but we say, no, you can't. I mean, adults can decide to do that if they want, but our society does not allow cigarette makers to sell to children. Why are we allowing Facebook to do this when we know it harms them?
Well, I think that's a very apt comparison, and it's like, you know, candy-coated cigarettes. So you want to hook kids at younger and younger ages. So we actually at Common Sense think this is not a good idea at all. And, you know, it also brings up the broader issue of how do you get your kids, you're a parent too, Tucker, you know, how do you get your kids away from the screen, enjoying the incredible outdoors and world around them? You just don't want them sitting on social media platforms in kindergarten or actually at any age.
Yeah, I mean, we know that it affects kids' ability to read and retain information and to think clearly. So is there any legislative effort to pull back? Or are we just passive in the face of a threat to our children?
No, actually, you know, Tucker, there's a lot of good stuff coming on this kinds of issue. There's stuff here on the West Coast in terms of looking at the addiction research that needs to be done around social media platforms. You're seeing much greater privacy concern now. You're seeing a number of different legislative efforts to try to either encourage or require companies to respect the young kids in their audience, and that's going to grow. We passed a bill called the eraser button here in California a couple of years ago so that kids who made dumb decisions could erase them. So I think you're going to see a growing public outcry, and I think why you're covering it helps in that as well.
I hope so. I mean, I can just see them marketing Google Maps to babies to learn how to crawl. We're losing a lot in this. And Jim, thank you for sounding the call about it. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having us on, Tucker, and thanks for your supporting it as well. We like it.
Always. Well, we've got a major announcement on something starting tomorrow on this show. We'll tell you what it is coming up next.
We had long deployments in Iraq. Really grateful that USA was able to take care of my family while I was overseas serving.
It was my very first car accident. We were hit from behind. I called USAA, and the first thing they asked was, "Are you okay?" They always thank you for your service, which is nice because as a spouse, you serve too.
We're the Hells, and we're USAA members for life.
See how much you could save with USAA by bundling your auto and home insurance. Get a quote today.
Let's face it, everyone would love a smartphone these days, but not everyone wants unlimited everything or a large data plan with a big monthly bill. For people who just need GPS, a good camera, and a few apps, there's TracFone, the original no-contract wireless provider. Smartphone plans start as low as $15. There's no contract, and you get unlimited carryover, so you keep all the minutes, text, and data that you paid for. Right now, TracFone has phones from top brands like Samsung and LG at very affordable prices. They have large touchscreens, take great photos, and give you access to thousands of apps. Everything you need. Look, TracFone has nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. There's no activation or cancellation fees, and you can even keep your number. Talk about a win-win-win. TracFone is available at retailers nationwide. Visit TracFone.com for more information and special offers.
We believe in rock and roll. We believe in blasting it down the fairway, turning up the heat and the fun. At Del Webb, We believe in life well led, in your own beautiful, smartly designed home, in an active adult community with sushi eaters, artists, thrill seekers, and you. We believe you'll like it here.
I hated our bathtub, but who has time for a remodel? Not this family. And then there's the mess. Then I heard about Bathfitter. They came in and put a beautiful new bathtub right over our old one. Bathfitter also has seamless walls that provide a watertight fit. There's no mess, no demolition, and they get it done in as little as 1 day. Plus, they provide a lifetime guarantee. Thanks to Bathfitter, I have a bathtub I love.
Call today or learn more at bathfitter.com.
I lost 25 pounds on Jenny Craig.
From a top diet 8 years straight comes the all-new Rapid Results by Jenny Craig. Lose up to 16 pounds in just 4 weeks with food you love. Eat 6 times a day with no prepping or cooking.
You have your breakfast, lunch, and dinner ready to go. It's all laid out for you.
So you can get on with your day and watch the pounds melt off.
Man up, give them a call.
Start Rapid Results and lose 16 pounds for $16 plus the cost of food and get $100 in free food.
Before discovering Nexium 24-Hour to treat her frequent heartburn, Claire could only imagine enjoying chocolate cake. Now she can have her cake and eat it too. Nexium 24-Hour stops acid before it starts for all-day, all-night protection. Can you imagine 24 hours without heartburn?
At Safe Flight Auto Glass, we know that when you're spending time with the grandkids, every minute counts. And you don't have time for a cracked windshield. That's why we show you exactly when we'll be there, saving you time so you can keep saving the world.
Today, big thinking in the Finger Lakes is pushing the new New York forward. We're the #1 dairy and apple producers in the eastern United States. Supported by innovative packaging that extends the shelf life of foods and infrastructure upgrades that help us share our produce with the world. All across New York State, we're building the new New York. To grow your business with us in New York State, visit esd.ny.gov.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, I think there's... Oh! No! No! I don't see... Alright, one more for the road. Deception Inception by Shay. And the reason that I'm really excited to play this level is because Shay made House of Spooks, which was just so fucking good. It was the like jump scare level, and I guess he made another level, and I'm super excited. I don't know if it's gonna be like jump scary like the other one was, or what. We shall find out. Is it? Okay. There's a boo at the top. I don't know what it's doing. There's a Potaboo on the right. Well, that wasn't the hard part. Oh, I don't know if I should have gone up here. There's potential for... That looks like a penis. That's definitely a penis. There's absolutely no way that this is not an intentional penis. Alright. Can those Potaboos get me? I don't think so. Oh, that one can! Right in my face. What was was that block? What was that all about? Okay, we need to just... Is it going to shoot me from the other side? I feel like it might. I'm going to do a little jump there to get some... Alright, we're at penis number 2. Glad I didn't go too fast right there. How do I hit that P switch? How do I hit the P switch? What? Did I miss? I thought it was gonna hit it, and it was gonna try to like troll me up from underneath. I think I actually needed that mushroom. That is most unfortunate. Can I go back? Nope, can't go back. Can't go back. Okay, let's just go fast here. I don't think I can actually get up there. There seems like there's hidden blocks in the way. Look, what's that door right there? That door is mighty suspicious. I'm dead. Okay. That fucks with my momentum. Don't crush me, bro. Okay, what do we do?
Some of what's been said here kind of racist.
Your white opinion of racism doesn't really...
I'm cool with it. That's a little bit racist. Latest installment of Real Conversations, Changed My Mind. The full unedited interview will be coming up soon. I know that's why you tune in. These are our segments where we have full, unedited, uncut interviews, usually involving a topic that's somewhat controversial, just to prove that you can have conversations with people. And sometimes minds can be changed, and sometimes you can part ways. And
sometimes just nothing productive happens.
Sometimes nothing productive happens. And today's a little bit different because this comes from when we were at TCU. We were doing the male privilege is a myth, which turned into a meme, changed my mind. And then I sat down with a couple of people. There were very few people willing to have a conversation that day. It was one of our less productive change my mind days. They wanted to go to the white privilege thing.
Yep.
So we'll show you.
Maybe they interpreted the sign as saying white male privilege.
Yes, white male privilege.
Yeah, that was their thing.
And we'll show you that in a bit. And that's what actually spawned a conversation between a black gentleman and an Asian gentleman. They prefer Orientals. And they did not agree with the previous black girl who was talking about white male privilege and how I was not entitled to an opinion. So we'll get to that in a bit.
Sounds like she was trying to speak on behalf of all black Americans.
Yeah, exactly. And this black guy said, like, I don't agree with that. And so he came up and he spoke and he sat down. They talked about cultural differences with this. You'll see this Asian gentleman there. And it was really fun. This is not really an argument. And actually, I think the black guy was a fan. So full disclosure. So it's not what you're used to, but I just thought it was something really cool. It was an organic conversation that warranted a watch. And I will say this, with the Real Conversations That Changed My Mind segments, we've been very happy overall with, what would you say, 70% positive, maybe?
I'd say probably more than that. It's pretty rare. I mean, I think even if you have to be a pretty hateful little booger to find this to be like an evil.
Well, yeah. I mean, there were a couple of those. There was like the guy, the white male privilege guy.
Frustrating.
SMU, they tried to run us out in a rail, which is why we're going back to perform on March 22nd.
And the feminists said it was male privilegey.
Yes,
to do it in the first place.
But at SMU, they got pretty mad. So that was one where there were a few. They were pretty upset, and that's why we're going back on the 22nd. So book now. But I'd say, I would say 70%. I'm trying to be generous. 70% have been positive, and 30% have been somewhat hostile. And I will tell you this, though, any success that we've had with this segment, when we first started doing it, we said, you know what, if there's any success with this at all, if we're able to actually keep it civil and actually have the kind of conversation we want to have with people, the kind of conversation that we've always had off air with new people.
Yep.
Sometimes new hires, or sometimes when people show up to live shows, we'll sit and we'll talk to people for a long time.
Sometimes it's even just in an Uber ride or a taxi ride.
Exactly.
Around.
So if there were any level of success with this series, we would have been happy. Let alone to see how much it's been embraced by people out there, because that doesn't really happen. In the age of the clickbait title and everyone wanting to talk about controversy and Antifa, and obviously that's reality. You have to deal in reality, but you can also have these kinds of conversations that are very productive. There are two sides of that coin, and you don't really hear this other side. So we're pretty happy, I would say, overall. I mean, I would consider it something that we're probably really would consider most proud of here on this.
Most proud of it, and we kind of fell into it.
Yeah.
It really wasn't a planned thing. It was like, let's just try this. And
let's see, and we didn't expect much to come of it.
Yeah.
To the point where we get a lot of requests, probably more for this than anything else.
Yeah, we have entire campus shows and tour shows that people want to have just for Change My Mind coming to their
Just for Change My Mind, right? Which is very different from the live show
very
like we're doing at SMU on the 22nd and then Illinois in March. But we will go to different campuses and do the Change My Mind segments going forward. So first off, let's show you this was supposed to be male privilege is a myth, and this lady decided to take it a different direction. 1, 2, 3.
Jump with me, jump us with me, oh, with me, such fun. Jump with me.
And what are your names?
I'm Hannah.
Hannah?
Marilyn.
Hannah and Marilyn. Jared, how did you? Am I good if I? Okay. Hannah and Marilyn. So it's sort of become this neologism, this idea of male privilege. And I know we talk about it a lot on campus, and I've had some conversations with people on campus today. I don't agree with the premise, but I'm open to having my mind changed.
Okay, Marilyn, you wanna go first? Well, male privilege is definitely a real thing.
Okay.
Our country was built by white males, and it was built for white males.
Mhm.
That's why women and any minority don't have an equal chance of being in politics. That's why most of our politicians are white males instead of representative of the actual population. That's why gerrymandering exists. That's why redlining exists. White privilege and white male privilege and male privilege is a real thing.
Okay. So I want to make sure I have this clear. Do you agree with what?
Yeah,
Okay.
I absolutely agree.
Okay, sorry. So I'm trying to balance this with the both of you. Hope you forgive me if I'm not perfect. So you believe that this country was founded by white males exclusively for
I don't believe it was. I know it is.
Okay, you know it. So what would you use to substantiate that? A lot of white males obviously came here because Western civilization, people came from Europe. A lot of white males, but that it was founded exclusively for white males. That's what you said. Yeah. How do you?
Male-dominated society.
But that doesn't imply that doesn't necessarily equate to design.
The Constitution originally didn't mention women or black people or anything, or minorities or anything. It only mentioned white men. It didn't specifically say white, but it said men. They didn't give any minorities the right to anything. We had to fight for that right.
Who's we?
The minorities. Women had to, people of color had to, everyone had to, except for white males.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. So you're saying that the Constitution, first off, mentioned only white men? I would say
it didn't say white men. It said men.
Mankind, men. Yeah, this was a term. Again, this is just sort of a colloquialism. Men. The rights were extended to women. You're aware, right?
They weren't extended to women. Women had to fight for their rights.
No, women never had to fight for the freedom of speech or Second Amendment.
Well, what do you mean women didn't have to fight for these rights? They literally had marching. Women were hurt for this, like.
For the First Amendment and Second Amendment, women
for
didn't have
the
the
right
to
to vote, for the right to not be treated as property.
Okay, so that's interesting that you bring up the right to vote. So you say we fought for it, everyone except for white men.
No, some white men did, but
some
it was mostly women. So and honestly,
women and minorities.
It was mostly white women at first who didn't include black women.
Okay, so who do you believe procured the right for women to vote?
Women fighting for it.
Really?
Yeah, white men wouldn't have gave it to women if they didn't fight for it.
So you believe a majority of women you believe were suffragettes, fought for the right to vote?
I don't know if it was a majority, but I know women did, and we wouldn't have it if those women hadn't stood up for it.
Okay, well, because it seems like we're going through a historical timeline. Historically, that's actually not accurate. The majority of women...
that is accurate.
So women actually, the majority of women didn't want the right to vote. It was men who gave them the right to vote.
I didn't know if it was the majority, but it wouldn't have happened if women haven't stood up in the suffragist movement and fought
Well, the
for
reason I bring that up is because you said women and minorities fought for that right, not white men. When the fact is women actually, as a majority, didn't fight for that right. Many of them fought against it. White men fought for that and were the ones who signed that into law.
Because of women, they wouldn't have signed it into law if women hadn't made them sign it into law.
But they didn't. The majority of women didn't want it. That's my point. And the reason they didn't want it, by the way, we'll move on from this, was because of the fact that voting came with the draft, mandatory bucket duty responsibilities that were actually not bestowed upon women at that time, and they didn't want the right to vote because it would come with the same responsibilities. So women got the right to vote, but they didn't have to be a part of the draft or mandatory bucket duty, mandatory firefighting service. So historically, I'm just saying that's actually, it's it's not really accurate. It paints an inaccurate picture.
I know
which
there
I would
were
disagree.
women. There was an anti-suffragist movement. I know conservative women didn't want the right to vote, but it's because of women that they were given the right to vote. And of course, there's going to be people on each side, but there's going to be women who want to stay in the home. But the whole point of women fighting for it is so they have that choice to stay in the home or go out to vote,
Sure.
or go into the draft if they want to.
Well, I don't think you, respectfully, you fundamentally have a misunderstanding of the draft. It's
No,
not,
I go into
not
war,
voluntary.
not the draft. I don't believe in drafting anyone at all. I don't believe
But at
you
the
should
time,
fight
it was
for a
a
war
part of
that
voting.
you shouldn't.
But at a time, it was a part of voting. That's my point. My only point here is you said it was a society designed by white men, exclusively for
Yes.
white men, and gave some examples which weren't accurate. So let me bring us to today. What rights are afforded in 2018 to men exclusively that aren't afforded to women? And I would like both of you to answer, because I don't want you to just sit there and feel like I don't want to cut you out of this.
No, I think Marilyn's explaining it really well. I just don't think you're understanding her side and how she's saying that it was a two-sided thing. So there are women who want to stay at home and live that life, and there are women who wanted the right to vote, to have their voice heard and their representation.
Sure.
And I think you want to focus on the conservative side that wanted to stay at home, and she's trying to say,
no, not at
well,
all.
they got the option to stay at home because other women were fighting for their right to vote.
No, that's not what I was presenting from my side at all.
Yes, it was.
No, let me clarify one more time then, okay? And I want to make it really clear, not only for you, for anyone watching. You said this was a society created by white men, exclusively for white men. And women and minorities had to fight for these rights, and you used examples as voting, and white men didn't. What I am pointing out is that is inaccurate. White men did, most women didn't want it. So that's a false premise that paints a false, it's a false baseline for today. Because if you say at one point, now I think women should have the right to vote. I'm very glad that we all do. Okay, we can agree on that. What I can't agree with is something that is historically inaccurate. So I'd like to find something we agree on today. What rights today in 2018 are afforded to men that are not afforded to women? I don't believe that there's systemic male privilege today. I'm not saying I could be wrong. I don't believe it though. And I would like to be convinced, or I'm certainly open to being convinced.
I feel your male privilege is a myth. I feel like only white men have that male privilege, and that's what the focus should be on.
Okay, so there's no black male privilege?
No.
Okay. We have some black men actually in the audience. Maybe they can come in afterwards. I would be interested to hear their perspective. So white male privilege?
Yes.
Okay. So what systemic white male privilege exists today? What rights are afforded, for example, to white males that are not afforded to black males, or to white males not afforded to black females? Let's divide everyone by race and gender at this point.
In regards to like laws and things like that, obviously the laws aren't like, oh, white men get this privilege and blah, 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 blah. So in regards to like technical terms, it says like men, it's laid out by laws really equally. When it comes to the actual systems, there's tons of black men crowding jails for an eighth of weed, while, you know, white men have like weed parties and it's cool and that's their thing, but like black men are automatically arrested for it. So that goes into the whole like police brutality argument. But
so can I ask you that? I've never heard of a weed party.
You can ask one of them.
Oh yeah, you can ask.
You mean one of the white males?
Probably.
Yeah. No, I don't. It's okay. We'll have someone come in afterwards and they can explain to me a weed party. So, no, genuinely, this is not me being a smart.
What kind of parties fraternity brothers throw?
I'm sure they do, but the premise was the idea, right, that black men are in prison for an eighth of weed. Do you have any statistical data to prove that black men with nothing more than an eighth of weed go to prison?
I couldn't give you the exact statistics, but there's several accounts of it, and it's not unknown. It's pretty much common sense that blacks are way easily more arrested than white men.
Well, apparently it's also been common sense that the majority of women were pushing for the right to vote and that white men didn't support them. So we're trying to deconstruct some of these ideas that people maybe assume are common sense but are factually inaccurate. Now, the truth is men as a whole are much more likely to be incarcerated than women. Okay. Men as a whole, even white men, get far more harsh sentencing for the same crime as women.
White men are shooting up schools, so I think they should have a harsher punishment.
Well, hold on a second. I mean, hold on a second, but black men are shooting each other in record numbers as well. That's not really relevant to the point.
You were asking for the facts, and they're right here.
Let me see.
Here's the facts.
Okay, so hold on one second. From the NAACP, you said for an eighth of, I want to make sure we're really clear here. You said white men are having weed parties, and a black man with an eighth of weed will be incarcerated in a federal prison. So what I have here is your source from the NAACP. From the NAACP, in 2014, African Americans constituted 2.3 million, or 34%, 64% of the correctional population. Okay, African Americans are incarcerated at more than 5 times the rate of whites. Now, nothing here at all involves behaviors or crimes committed. I'm trying to look for anything in here that relates to black people being sentenced simply for an eighth of weed. So this is from the NAACP. That would be as biased of a source as you could use. But I don't see it. I don't see it. Show me, give me, I would like to see, I would be very open to hearing the statistical reality. I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to be confrontational. I would like to hear that stat. I think it's horrible. I don't think anyone should be arrested for an eighth of weed or put in jail. I think we can agree on that, right?
No, I agree.
Whether they're white or black.
Yeah.
I don't think white people should be shooting up schools, whether they're white or black.
Yeah. Well, I definitely agree.
Obviously, welcome to listen to whatever's happening over here and continue to do that. But we're going to have a conversation over here about campus climate, sexual assault, and...
Why don't you come talk?
Why don't you come talk? More than welcome to
Got
talk. I'm just saying that we're going to be over here.
Great, thank you. I'll come over and talk with you guys too.
This is where it counts.
Okay, so let's assume that will. And sorry, I hope you're still comfortable. I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable.
No, it's fine.
I feel this has been respectful, and you've been very polite. So again, the systemic differences we're talking about, men, period, are more likely to be incarcerated than women.
Yeah.
Men are more likely to be physically assaulted than women. So we're getting into this. First off, this is data. But when we get into the anecdotal that, well, white men tend to have it better because they can walk around and have weed parties, that's not necessarily accurate. So particularly when we're discussing an issue as sensitive as race, gender, and systemic oppression or inequalities, don't you think it's really important that we get that correct and the premise correct before we go off and divide people by these subcategories?
Yeah, but I think there's tons of statistics out there already, and even if you don't want to look up the statistics, it's not hard to see how many black men are in jail at larger rates than white men.
Do black men commit crimes at a higher rate than men?
Definitely not.
No.
That's just not true.
No?
No.
No, so black men do not commit crimes at a higher rate than white males?
No.
Okay. Do you have statistics that would reflect that?
I mean, I'm sure I could look them up, but it's definitely not true. It's because racism is built into the system. That's what the system is built against blacks, and that's what racism is. That's why there are more blacks in prison.
Okay. Well, it seems like we've gotten away from male privilege, now we've gotten to black-white. But I'll go with that if you'd like to. And I don't disagree that there have been horrible instances of racism in this country, including, by the way, in Canada and, of course, in Europe, the British Empire. And by the way, I hope you understand I'm certainly not a slavery or racism apologist. I think that's bad. I think racism is bad. But you just mentioned that, well, someone else was just earlier was saying that I was okay with rape, which I'm not, simply because I believe there needs to be proof for rape. So I think racism is bad. If we can all agree that racism is bad, you say the systems are racist and set up. Okay. What systematic racism do we have today then in that case?
The system is built against, so it all goes back to slavery. Colored people of color, sorry, have never been...
Careful, colored people, it's people of color. One's racist, one's okay now.
Yes, people of color is the correct term. People of color have never been given an equal opportunity. They've never been given the equal opportunity for jobs because after racism was abolished, came segregation and then Jim Crow and separate but equal. So people of color have never been given the same opportunity as white people, which is why it's been built into the system.
In 2018, do you believe that's true?
Yes, it's still.
Can I ask you? Can I ask you a question? You're here at did you go to TCU?
Yes.
Okay. At TCU, do you know if there is any affirmative action, for example, grants exclusively given to people of African American heritage?
I'm not sure if we have in place affirmative action, but I know we do have the chancellor's, what is it called?
The community scholars?
Community scholars, yeah, which is put in place to help get minorities into college.
Right. So so there are grants and scholarships. I think we would agree across this country for minorities. Yeah.
Because, and those wouldn't have to exist if it wasn't the system.
But will we not say that's
was equal? Then those scholarships wouldn't exist, which is why we have to have those scholarships.
so? I just want to make sure that I understand these scholarships correctly because I don't attend the school. So these are, you said it's the community grant for is that what it's called?
Community scholar.
Community scholar, and this is exclusively for minorities to try and get them on campus.
Exclusively for minorities, there is.
It's majority minorities, but you can be any race
Yeah.
and get this scholarship.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is something specifically to the school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mostly if you come from a lower economic standpoint.
From a lower economic standpoint. Okay. Are there or are there not grants, for example, or laws in place, we know affirmative action, that would be granted exclusively toward minorities? It seems in this case this one may not, but are you aware that those exist on campus?
Yes.
Okay. So when you say minority, that would be excluding people who are not minorities for this grant or scholarship, correct?
Yes.
Is that discriminatory?
No, because it's fighting against the system of racism.
Well, I'm not asking about the system of racism. I'm asking is, by definition, is that discriminating against groups of people for this grant?
No.
What is the definition of the word discrimination?
Let me look it up.
Okay. I would venture would be something along the lines of discerning or excluding certain parameters or qualities from a given opportunity.
Or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people or things, especially on the grounds of race, age, or sex.
Okay. So excluding people based on race.
It says unjust or prejudicial.
This is from Merriam-Webster.
It's from.
Okay. Here, I appreciate it. So the point is there's discrimination occurring there. Is there anything like that for white students?
Unjust. That's not unjust because it's making it equal for minorities.
It's making it equal.
Yes, because they don't have an equal chance in our society.
How do they not have an equal chance to get to TCU?
What do you think? We're trying to explain to you right now. What have we been talking about this whole time?
Well, I'm looking at several black people here who've made it to TCU.
Several black people? I'm looking at a sea of white. I don't know what you're looking at.
I guess you're a figment of our imagination. Well, hold on a second. Sorry, you're Asian, so I guess you don't count because there are too many of you on campus. I'm saying I'm looking at many. There's a guy biracial right here. No, listen, there have been people coming in and out. The point is, many of these people disagree. They believe they can get into school. They don't believe there's systemic discrimination. There are more white people in this area of town. And we've gotten away from male privilege. We talked about white privilege versus black privilege. Isn't that what we're talking about? Or people of color. Is people of color, is that the term you prefer?
Sure.
Well, I don't know. I know some people prefer black, some people prefer people of color. I would like to go back to the idea of male privilege. I still haven't heard a right afforded, or same thing with race. I still haven't heard a right afforded to someone who is a white male not afforded to, say, a black female. I think that's pivotal if we're going to talk about systemic discrimination. I'm sorry, my knee touched you. I apologize. I meant nothing by it. I just have wide legs. But we don't agree that that's pivotal. If we're going to say there is systemic discrimination that needs to be rectified, we would need to be able to find in 2018 at least one example of systemic discrimination.
Okay. How many of our presidents have been white and male?
The last one was black.
One out
Yeah.
of 45. One out of 45.
And I would argue he was terrible.
I would definitely not argue that. I'd argue Obama was one of our best presidents.
Okay. That's fine. And isn't it wonderful you can have that opinion, right? You can have that opinion and I can have my opinion, but wouldn't that be proof that there are no more barriers to entry if a black man made it to the highest office in the land?
There's a study by, I forget what his name is.
Relax.
Does she seem nervous?
No, him. He needs to relax.
Oh, he needs to relax. What did he do?
I mean, she's trying to get her point across. He just needs to let her say it, and
Relax.
it'll be fine.
There's lots of countries where they elected one minority president and then went all the way back to electing all white presidents. They say they're
Careful, because you're treading on some ground that could make you sound very racist here, and I don't think you're aware of it.
Maryland's not going to come across racist. So.
Some of what's been said here kind of racist.
Your white opinion of racism doesn't
racism
really
is
compare.
That's kind of that's a little I'm cool with it. That's a little bit racist.
Okay, I just want to get out here that reverse racism isn't real. I know you're all going to yell at me.
No, I didn't. No, listen, I would never use the word reverse racism. Saying your white opinion racism doesn't matter is not reverse racism at all.
No,
it's
not
racism.
that it doesn't matter. It's just, it doesn't compare.
Okay, how so?
Like
how
you're trying to tell
be...
her what she's saying is racist. That's
no, I said it could come across racist saying they never vote in another black president again. How people don't ever vote back. You know, that could come across as racist.
How?
Because of such a poor performance from a black president would be the implication.
But his poor performance is like your opinion.
Exactly, it is my opinion. And it was the opinion of many, many millions of Americans who voted in an old white guy, unfortunately, over a woman. Sorry, maybe we'll have a female president next go around. I'd gladly vote for a female president. I actually was a Carly Fiorina guy. I really liked her. I think she would have made a fantastic president. But I do find it interesting right here where you just said that your white opinion isn't comparable. I don't, the word comparable is interesting to me. Why would you use that choice of words?
Because what is your understanding of racism in comparison to somebody who's a person of color?
We're both human beings with opinions on an issue.
Yeah, but you play into the system and we're trying to fight against it. So why would...
How would you know that I play into this? How do I play into the system?
You're a conservative Republican. Like, you don't
know anything about me.
You're sitting here saying that male privilege is a myth,
yeah,
and that rape culture isn't a problem on U.S. campuses.
And so you just said I am a part of a system which you just declared racist. You said I'm an active part in a racist system. That's a really terrible thing to say about somebody.
Well, is it
true.
Untrue?
Yes.
No.
Then prove it.
Well, you want to prove? Okay, you want to disprove your prejudicial statement based on my race? Let me give you my best shot.
Okay.
I'm actually a French Canadian, or an English Canadian who was raised in French Canada. Are you aware of the language police?
No.
Okay, so let me talk to you about a little bit about discrimination. We're actually not allowed to attend English schools. We're not allowed to open a restaurant with an English sign if there's an apostrophe S. They thought I was disabled until the 4th grade because I was forced to go to French schools and learn math, geography, and history in French by law, because if you are born in Quebec, you have to attend French schools. This comes from a theory they call pure laine, which means pure wool, pure European French blood wool. And so this is actually something, yeah, it's enforced by the language police. Where I grew up, they thought I was learning disabled as an English Canadian, being forced to go to public Catholic schools at a Protestant English-speaking Canadian, and they thought I was learning disabled until the 4th grade. I lived in an 82 Datsun for several months as I tried to make something of myself and dropped out of college and moved to the United States when I was 18 years old. So I certainly wouldn't say that I'm someone who's been raised in the lap of white American Republican privilege. By the way, there are no Republicans in Quebec. There are only liberals and liberal separatists.
None of what you said had to do with racism or anything.
Had to do with discrimination, with prejudice.
Okay.
I would say there's an English-speaking.
But you're still a white man in this society, so you're good. Your privilege is safe.
I would say this, and you're not going to like this, but I would say a white male, regardless of white, male, black, I would say white-speaking English Canadian living, being raised in French Canada, yes, would face much more systemic oppression than you here on college campus.
Really? So it's easier being you, a white person in America, than me, a white person a half-white person in America.
You're a half-white person in America? No, I was talking about my upbringing because you said you're playing into the system. You're a white male conservative Republican.
Yeah, I don't care about
what if
the background.
What if I were a white male Democrat? What if I were a transgender
Then I would hope that you
Democrat?
would be fighting the system.
What system?
And trying to
We said
change
the
it.
What system?
The systematic racism
What's
in
systematic
America.
Racism? I just need one example of systematic
Police brutality.
Okay, police brutality. No, listen, ignore them. We're just having a conversation. And the peanut gallery doesn't matter. Okay, it's okay. I'm not laughing at you. I'm not being disrespectful.
No,
I don't associate with them. I'm not. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying I want to just keep it here so that it's not fair if there's a pile on, and I want everyone to take their turn. So I appreciate it. Police brutality. That's interesting. Again, with the sign is about male privilege, but you seem to really focus on the race issue. So let's talk about police brutality. How is that?